The Electricity Company of Ghana, ECG, has disconnected the Accra Digital Center over debt owed the power distributor. This is part of the ECG Accra West Region's revenue drive to complement a national effort to recover some 5.7 billion cedis owed by customers. Today's drive by the Accra West Region is targeted at both public and private facilities in the industrial area. We can now go live and speak with my colleague James Kwesi Aveje, who is currently with the team. James, where are you currently and what's the latest from where you are?
Okay, Aisha, so we are currently at the AirtelTigo office in Accra. Previously, we've been to the Fan Milk company, and then we moved on to the been to Fan Milk, and then we moved to the Accra Digital Center, where the Accra Digital Center have been disconnected or taken off the grid for owing the ECG some amount of money. We are told that AirtelTigo also owes the ECG, for which they are here to demand for payment of that failure, which they may also be taken off the grid. And so as we speak, managers of the Accra West ECG are currently locked up in a meeting with managers of AirtelTigo. We are waiting to know what the conclusion of that meeting would be, but thankfully we have the PRO for the Accra West Region ECG, Mr. Fred Bembio, here with us to give us some update on, especially from the Fan Milk, and then what is currently happening. Mr. Fred, thank you so much for your time. We've been to Fan Milk as well as Accra Digital Center, and here we are at AirtelTigo. What has the update been so far, especially with Fan Milk and the Accra Digital Center?
Well, so good afternoon to you and to your viewers. So today's activity is part of what we've been doing as a company since the 20th of March, when we launched this 2020 campaign, to go around and make sure that for everyone who owes us, we're able to collect our debts, and for persons who are involved in illegalities, we're able to identify and arrest them. So it's something we've been doing for the past 1 month, and for today's exercise, we went to Fan Milk, as you mentioned, and as part of this exercise, what we are doing is, even though it's primarily to collect our debts and also to identify illegalities, there are also some exemplary customers who deal very well with us, who promptly pay their bills. So management thought it wise to also pay visits to some of them, to commend their management for how promptly they pay their bills, and also to make them as good examples for others to follow. So we've been to Fan Milk. We will go to ABL, who has also been a very good customer, Blue Skies. I mean, we've had some very exemplary customers out there. We also went to the Accra Digital Center, which is in debt. We've been having conversations with them for a while, but these conversations haven't been as fruitful as we wanted them to. So we were there today to also engage management, but because we couldn't come to any fruitful conclusions, we had to take them off the grid and disconnect them. Often as a company that only sells electricity, it's in our interest for customers to be on the grid and to be using, because it's only by using that you get to pay us. So the disconnection is often the last resort. So often when we come to any organization, we try to engage and try to give a certain rope for you to be on and see if you can make payments, but failure to which we would have to then go ahead to disconnect.
So on your papers, as far as the Accra West region is concerned, how much are all these companies, including the industries as well as individuals? We know the national figure is 5.7 billion Ghana cedis. When we take the Accra West region, how much are customers owing you?
Well, we are not, as a region, we are actually not speaking numbers now, because what we've done is we know how much is owed us, but over the past 30 days, there has been some substantial collections from many of our debtors. So we are waiting to end this program. Then as a region, we'll be able to carve out how much of the total figure has come from us.
Substantial figure in the thousands, millions, or tens of thousands?
I mean, off the cuff, I can mention that in the Kaneshi district alone, the number of SLTs we have are just a little over 100. And in the last month, we've been able to collect about 25 million from these SLTs. These are the companies within the district, and there are about 8 districts within Accra West. So I'm sure by the time we sit down to put all the figures together, we may be running into several millions. But I don't want to throw out any figures now, though nationally we are aware that we've been able to collect 2.5 billion, for which our collections as a region is part. For our unique collection as a region, I think those figures would come out later. But more interestingly, in the period, we've also been able to identify some persons who have been engaged in illegalities. And for us at last weekend, we had apprehended about 140 people, and the calculation of the power they had used without paying for was about 1,090,000 Ghana cedis, 90,000 Ghana cedis. So you can imagine, I mean, people stealing power beyond 1 million Ghana cedis. And these are monies that, but for this exercise, if you hadn't gone out to identify them and arrested them and surcharged them, would have lost it as a company. So maybe the advice to people out there is that, please, if you're engaged in an illegality, make sure you reverse it. Make sure you are paying for the power you're using. If you know anyone who is engaged in any illegality, please report them to us. There's an incentive payment for anyone who reports such persons to us. And then also, we are putting in place measures, technology and all, to make sure we're able to arrest all these customers.
So finally, you have been in that meeting with the AirtelTigo briefly. What's the situation looking like? Are they also going to be disconnected?
Well, like I mentioned, for everywhere we go, disconnection is usually our last resort. We must probably have...
How is the discussion going?
Well, you've actually pulled me out, so I'm unable to give updates now. But then, like I said, we are not in a rush to just take you off because you're owing. We'd want to engage you, make sure that indeed you are either ready to pay or not ready to pay, then we take the next action. So if we don't get anything fruitful from that meeting, then we'll go ahead to disconnect.
So, Aisha, that's the latest from the ECG's revenue drive, the Accra West region. We'll get more from the other visits as well. So that's the latest from the field here in Accra.
Definitely, there will be more in our subsequent bulletin.